Threads is not a threat to coup. Will a lifestyle-oriented network find any attraction in text-first thoughts and opinions platform is something that I have always doubted. I would predict that the numbers would fall further.
Hi, I'm Marty Subramaniam, and you're watching IGF Studios, where we're going to be discussing some of the latest trends and the ongoing global debates with IGF Founders Circle members. And joining us in our first ever episode is Apramaya Radhakrishnan, the CEO and co-founder of Koo, India's own social networking app. Apramaya, thank you so much for speaking to us today. I really appreciate you taking time out. We, of course, are going to be talking about an area of great interest to you, and that's Meta's launch of Threads and that impact that that's going to have. So we have a latest entrant to the social media scene. What do you think that means for Koo in terms of competition, if you even see it as competition? And what would you say really sets Koo apart from Threads?
Yeah, so I'll go back to why we started, just to give context to everybody. So we saw a open space in microblogging overall, because Twitter, while it is globally very, very relevant and much used, in India itself it is used by a very small percentage of users who are mostly comfortable with English. It does not solve for language speakers to get onto the platform and express themselves on a daily basis. So that problem is a very unique problem, and that problem hasn't been solved by any global tech or global social media so far. And what we see Threads doing is, Threads is trying to occupy a space because of an emotion against Twitter. And they're going after the same market, English market or the Western market. They are not solving for what Koo is solving, which is the language inclusivity, the fact that, the other big problem is, across the world, various countries are now fining, global tech, right, for misuse of data, for interfering with local affairs through social media. So all of these are accusations on global tech, and most global tech are US based, and every single country across the world wants the ability to have a local alternative, especially for the world of thoughts and opinions, where Twitter is the leader. Every single country would like to have a local alternative, which basically de-risks them from being deplatformed entirely as a country. So I think that these needs are there, being inclusive of culture, language, being inclusive of the country itself, giving the freedom for each country to run its own social media according to its own country. So all of these are deeper needs, which on the superficial level, none of the global tech giants or social media giants solve. And so, in conclusion, to your question directly, Threads is not a threat to Koo. It definitely is trying to make an impact on Twitter, but I think there also it's not going to do much, because the biggest mistake I feel is replicating a lifestyle network of Instagram onto a thoughts and opinions platform. Right? So lifestyle creators are not good with words. Maybe a small percentage are. They are known more for their visual creation rather than their textual creation. So I think Threads will struggle to operate in the space of Twitter or even become a meaningful competitor. But overall, does it become something else because of the nature of their platform? Is something to wait and watch, but not a threat to Twitter in the global sense, and not a threat to Koo because they're not solving the same problem.
Do you think that the number of people who have signed up to Threads is more of a novelty figure? Because over the past few days, we have seen the numbers fall. The growth and engagement hasn't really been there as much. So is it more a natural progression, or is it a waning of interest once that initial hype bubble has burst?
Meta is the social media giant of the world. If they introduce a new product, and have a captive audience that they can go and request some people to, come and try out, I think there will be hundreds of millions of downloads, which is minimally expected, right? 2 billion Instagram users across the world. If you go and say, I have a new product, why don't you try it out? I think 5-10% of them, kind of like downloading to try it out is a given, right? So 5% of 2 billion is 100 million. That's the number of downloads they got, and that's the minimum most that they should have gotten anyways. Now, as I was saying earlier, will a lifestyle-oriented network find any attraction in text-first thoughts and opinions platform is something that I have always doubted ever since they launched. And now that you mentioned the numbers are dropping, I think the numbers will only drop further because there'll be lesser and lesser reason to actually want to use that platform from the audience that they attract. Now, will Twitter audience go to Threads? No, because they're used to a certain thoughts and opinions platform mood. They don't want to go to a more lesser. They would view it as a lesser intellect platform. They wouldn't want to go there. So I don't think it threatens in any way, and I would predict that the numbers would fall further. It will probably find its own baseline where people just use it. Is it $1 million DAO, 5 million DAO, 10 million DAO? We don't know what that will be, but it'll baseline at something, and eventually either Meta will say, okay, this is too small for me to bother, and that they will shut it down, or they will find a meaningful enough base and try to rebuild that whole thing. Yeah.
What do you think it does to the whole free speech discourse and the argument? I mean, that's in a hate speech, free speech, what social media does to it. What do you think the addition of Threads would do to this, or is it just, does it exist in isolation?
Threads itself does nothing. As in the existence of who has impacted free speech a lot more than what Threads has done. Threads is a non-player in this world of free speech, or lack of free speech, right? So they don't have a philosophy around it. The same Facebook or Instagram philosophy will be borrowed to Threads. The pre-Elon Musk era, Twitter was a different animal altogether in terms of content moderation. I think the post-Elon Musk era has seen a little bit of change, but still the trust from various countries on Twitter, how Twitter will behave when it is already the number one and the only go-to platform globally. While in India, we kind of like challenge them quite a bit. But globally, I think they're the only player, and their definition of how they deal with free speech is what is going to.
Let's talk about Ku a bit now. Ku has been around for a long time. I'm sure over the past several years, there have been quite a few learnings, quite a few recalibrations, quite a few change in strategies. Can you give us a little bit of insight on what some of those are and where you see Ku in the next 3 years or maybe 5 years?
Yeah, so we're only 3 years old, by the way, out of which only the first year was experimentation, and the last 2 years have been serious product building. And our team being able to, like, with 60, 70 engineers, we've been able to build out everything that a microblog should have, plus languages, plus everything else. I think is a very crazy journey that we've had, and our team has really burned the midnight oil, so to speak, to make that happen. The way I would look at it is, our first focus is to become the largest microblog in India. That sets the mood, right? Like, if you can beat Twitter in one market, you can beat them in multiple, right?
Yeah.
Now, the whole philosophy of, okay, local alternative required, more inclusive of culture and language, has to be proven in India, and we're not too far away from it. So the day we prove that, I think there will be a lot more countries who will invite us to actually become a local alternative in their countries as well. So it's a bit like the UPI story, right? UPI is so successful in India that now other countries are also willing to use it because they want to. As in India, as a country, is a very trustworthy country. Products and services from India is also very trustworthy. So I think we have a great opportunity to join that bandwagon. And once we prove India, we'll take it to the rest of the world.
Well, we can't wait for that, Dr. Maya. Thank you so much for speaking to IGF Studio. And of course, IGF is your cheerleader, and we're always going to be here hoping for your success. Thank you so much for speaking to IGF Studio.
Thank you. Thank you so much.